Welcome to another episode of Film and Business. We are diving into one of the most important and misunderstood topics for filmmakers, distribution. Specifically, we'll talk through the main distribution window available to you today, how they work, how to choose the ones that make the most sense for your film, because distribution isn't about going everywhere. It's about going where your audience already is. Welcome to Film and Business. I'm Rosa Camero, film producer, CEO and founder of Ramiro AI, a film marketing and distribution assistant helping filmmakers like you. If you're wondering where your film should go after it's finished, this episode is for you. We are going to explore the different distribution windows and how to use them to actually reach your audience. Let's start with the first thing. What is a window? Why are you talking about windows? Windows is what you see through in a house or in an apartment. This is a name it's given to the different ways that you can watch a film. It's called windows. Don't ask me why, actually. I should ask around just to know from where that concept came from. But yeah, in film distribution, we say windows. We don't say, we can refer to different windows like, okay, the streaming or the theatrical. But we always talk about windows and the time frame between windows. Because in traditional distribution, you have time. You have a certain amount of time to release your film and take it to the next window. So distribution is not just about getting your film out there. It's about the strategy. It's about who sees it, who is your audience, when, where, and how. It's just, I have a film finished. Now what? Now it's time for me to put it on TV. It's time for me to put it on film theaters. That doesn't happen. You need someone either do it for you or you can do it yourself. I'm not saying that you need someone because you can do it yourself, but then you need to learn how to do it and have the right strategy to make that happen. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the main distribution windows and how the timing is in between them. This is purely talking traditional distribution, but if you're doing do yourself and if you're doing your own distribution, that's something that you need to get into account because I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, that's what I advise the filmmakers that work with me. It's not a good idea to just put your film out there and see what happens, but just having a plan behind it and how you're going to release it and the different campaigns, then the different marketing campaigns that you're going to do for your film when that film is released, that's important. That what will bring actually the success to your film. Like we have talked about this, we know marketing is super important and having a strategy, having a plan behind your film, it's 100% what will take you to the next level and what will take it to success. So let's go with the first window. And in my opinion, is the most important. And even though it's very expensive, it's also the one that gives you the most return on investment. That's theatrical release. This means putting your film in cinemas. And I don't know you, but all my films, I would like them to be in cinemas because in the end, films were invented to be in a really huge screen where you can see the pores of your main characters. Now with video and all this technology, I mean, you can actually see like a really neat image in it. So I would like to see my films in the big screen, and that's the theatrical window. This theatrical window, for many, many years, decades, if you say so, it was the king. I was going to say it is the king. It's not. I will say it is, but it's not the king anymore because now this window has a very competitive window that is streaming. So the streaming platforms now are calling the shots. And theatrical, they used to call the shots before. But now, I think since the pandemic, 2020, that changed. It was going to change anyway, but I think the pandemic just rushed to what was supposed to happen. So having a theatrical release means that you go into film theaters. This can be either limited release, it can be wide release, event-based cinema screenings. You can choose what kind of distribution you want for your film. You can start with one film theater, and if it's a success, maybe you can open more theaters. The difference between a blockbuster and an independent film is that blockbusters, they release their films with thousands of copies around the world, and they normally release at more or less at the same time in each territory. When we talk about territories, we talk about either countries or either areas or regions in the world. So for example, Latin America can be one region, one territory, but also it can be very different territories because there are many countries in there. So it can be either from Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia. There are different territories, but either can be one territory or it can be many territories. It's also the US is only one territory, but it can also be one territory with Canada. So that's North America. And you can have both territories, even though they're huge and it's makes it big. And you can have Europe, but each country in Europe works differently, and then you can see the culture is not the same. And this is what we take into account when we release a film. We take into account the culture, we take into account the traditions, even the holidays, even what is happening in the country. So each country is a region. You can go for Europe, all of it, or you can go country by country. Also happens with Asia. It can be one territory, but it can be also a lot other territories because it's very vast, it's very big. So that's the way that you sell your film, by territory. And that's also the reason why when you see a film, especially an independent film, reach theatrical, sometimes you see it on the US, but you don't see it in another country. You don't see it, or maybe you see it in Europe, but it never reached the US, or it never reached Latin America. That's very common. And I remember when I was growing up, and I didn't have an idea of films and if I was going to work in that. I mean, I didn't think about working in the film industry. I was young, I'm telling you. I've been working in the film industry for many years now. And I remember that I couldn't understand why the release was in different dates, even sometimes in different months for different films. So it's like, why is this happening? The thing that we don't know is that distribution is like another world that nobody talks about. That's where you make money with your film. That's like many people involved. You finish your film and then you have many steps to get your film into the screening. So theatrical is one of the windows that it can be very expensive, but also I think it's also the one that can give you the return of investment, because the payment in other platforms are not very big. I mean, even if you sell your film to streaming platforms like Netflix, they don't pay very much, I'm telling you. Unless that you have a $300,000 film, maybe you can make your money back, but Netflix doesn't buy that kind of films. The second window will be TVOD. That's transactional video on demand, and this is where you rent the film to people. These platforms are iTunes, Amazon Video on Demand. Do you remember when you went and rent a film in a Blockbuster or in a physical store? I could say this is the similar thing, but this is a streaming. This is something online that you can do online. You can buy it online. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch it whatever, and you can find it in different platforms. And you can distribute your film this way. So you have theatrical first, you release, and then you have 3 months for doing this. And actually, before it was up to 1 year, but with the pandemic, Disney said, I'm not gonna wait for you theatrical. I'm just gonna do my thing. They launched their online platform. It's Disney Plus. They have all these films, and they said, I'm not gonna wait for you theatrical for you to release their film. I will release my film in 3 months. You either release the film or you don't, because it's just practically they said, I don't need you. So theatrical, they needed to shorten the window, and now it's 3 months. So it came down from 1 year to 3 months, and I think it's good because then the film keeps rolling. And then we have video on demand. You buy the film or you rent the film, and then from there you have streaming platforms. By the way, this is the traditional distribution path, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be this way for each one of the films. Each film is different. Each film you have different negotiations, different contracts. You find different deals. So not necessarily needs to be in this order. Okay, it can be in different ways for you to release a film. So you have streaming platforms. It can be subscription based. That's Netflix, Movie, Hulu, Amazon Prime. You have a flat licensing fee, and they pay for your film. It's not that they rent it, but they pay. They have, depending of the negotiation, they might have 2, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years of license. They can license your film. They pay you money, and then they have the rights for that time. You have above, the ad supporter. That's Tubi, Pluto TV, YouTube, and revenue via ads. Then Netflix is starting doing this. I know in the US they have ads. We don't have ads in Europe. That's something interesting. At least in Denmark we don't have ads on Netflix, but I know in the US you have ads. So actually Netflix is converting into ad supported platform. And then you can have other platforms, combine both. There are many streaming platforms. I mean, I have to say there are a lot of streaming platforms, and you can negotiate with them, and then you can you can have your film there. I have heard of stories where you can have your platform in a smaller streaming platform, and you can actually take that and then somehow someone from the bigger platform find their film, or maybe they're mentioning and they're talking about the film, and then the bigger streaming platform, they come and buy the film. So that can happen. Everything is possible, I always say, in this industry. And it can help you with visibility and access, but normally you need to have access to a sales agent or aggregator. So for example, Netflix is not that you can come and pitch your film. It's not that, hey, here, I have my film. Here, Netflix, I want my film in your platform. A few years ago, you could do that. And what I'm saying, a few years ago, that was like between 7 and 10 years, you could do that. But a few years ago, they said, no, we are receiving too many projects, too many films. We cannot keep up with them. We need an aggregator. We need someone in between us and the filmmakers, so they can be the filter to offer us projects. So they have a certain standards. They have a certain way that you should do the things. You also need like a special camera. So it has to be approved by them. If you don't have that, then you are not able to get into the platform. So that will be the technical part. You need to have it really right. You have to have it right, and you need to know what they need. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have the quality, or you don't have the kind of equipment they ask filmmakers to have, then you cannot submit your film. The next window is broadcast and TV networks. This is the TV from many years. You have regional, national, or cable TV. People say that it's dying. I think it's changing. Broadcasters, TV networks are still out there. They're still producing. I think they still have their audience. I mean, I have an LG video. I have an LG TV, and I can see they have channels. We have seen like some TV shows in there. So, I mean, if it's dying, why even LG, even all these electronic devices, they're having their own channels. So yeah, I think it is worth it. They don't pay as much. I think deals can be between 10,000 and 50,000 if the film is good. They don't pay too much money for films. But the thing about broadcasting and TV networks is that your film can keep living and be replay again and again. So that means that if your film is successful enough, they will keep relicensing your film. That means they will pay you money every time. So depending of your contract, depending of your negotiation and the deal you close with them, you might be able to see money every year or every 2 years, every 5 years, depending again of the negotiation, because each film is different and we need to know that. The next window is open TV. So there is free to air. So that means that this the channels that are for free, that are on the TV, normally are public, it's government funded. Also, they are like a big part, at least in Europe, to fund films. So it's a great part of the funding system here in Europe. So when you have a public government funded television, then your film is on a good path. And then we have physical media. Okay, physical media disappear, DVD and Blu-ray. Do you remember? Do you remember DVD and Blu-ray? I mean, I do. And actually that was kind of the second window after theatrical. So it was theatrical, and then you had DVD and Blu-ray, even VHS, remember that? And then it died. And then because the streaming came, nobody wanted to buy DVDs and Blu-rays, but I think they're coming back. So people, and I know, and I have heard from independent filmmakers that DVD and Blu-ray, it's a really good window. It makes, I mean, if the film is good, people is looking for the DVDs and Blu-rays, they want to watch the film. This is good for collectors, niche genre, or even older people that are not used to the online thing. So they buy DVDs and they have the DVD player. So not all of us are into technology. So it means it means that you have a new option. It means that you have an option to sell your film. And also a DVD, I mean, you can take a few bucks from it. So it's like between $10 and $20. I mean, I remember I had a client and they had documentaries, and DVD and Blu-ray, they were the main income for their films. That's the way they made films, and they is still making films with that. And they tried to open a streaming platform, but of course the streaming platform, you pay little for the film. So maybe you have like $5, $6. A DVD sometimes it's $20. Sometimes it's depending how niche it is and how rich the film is. You can even get into $90s, $100. So I think DVD it's having a comeback, and it's interesting to see that people is buying them. How to decide which window is the right one for your film? So you need to ask some questions, and you really need to go deep into your goals and to why you want and you want to do with your film. So the first question will be, who is your film for? Audience. Remember, you need to know your audience. You need to know who your audience is for that film. So who's going to watch that film? Knowing your market, knowing that persona that is going to watch the film is super important. And where do they watch, where you can find that audience. So in order for you to know the audience, you need to know where they hang out, so you know where to sell the film. They're not going to come and look for your film. Your film needs to be where they are. Also, what's your marketing budget? Even though we're talking about distribution and marketing, they're together. They're kind of like married into each other. And when you talk about distribution, you talk about marketing, because without marketing, you cannot build an audience. You cannot build something tangible for your audience to watch your film. Yes, you have your film. They can watch your film, but they don't know about your film. They don't know that your film exists. So how are you going to do in order for them to find your film? And are you focused on revenue, visibility, awards? Depending on your goal, that's also the way that you can sell your film. You can have revenue, you can have visibility. You can have all of them if you want, but also depends of your goals. Do you want to retain rights or license them out? This is super important because each negotiation is different, each deal is different, and you have to be very sure how many years you want to give away for your film. So how many years are you willing to give your film away? Because in that time, it's not your film. That's not yours. It's someone else's. And be aware of expenses cap. You can have a clause where it says that if they don't do anything with your film after a year, 6 months, whatever, you can have a clause in your contract that it says you can pull out the film from there. They need to give you reports if you want that. You should be able to negotiate those things. If you can negotiate these things and you see the film distributor or film's agent is not open to that, then that's a red flag. You don't want to work with someone that is very difficult to deal with, because in the end, you are the one who's going to be in contact with that distributor, that person inside that distributor, inside that film agent. So you want to make sure they're nice people that actually like to work with filmmakers and don't make the filmmaker's life more difficult. And remember, distribution windows can be liar, as I said before. It can be at the same time theatrical, maybe streaming. You can do like a strategy around it where you have both. You can have like a marathon where it's like films related to your film and you think it's a good idea. For example, in blockbusters, and when you have a saga, it's very common that you have a marathon for the 3-4 films, like for example Harry Potter. Or we did that, or I did that. I organized marathons for the Twilight Saga. So when we had the 4 film for the Twilight Saga, we made sure to have the 3 films before the 4 played in film theaters, for example. And then TV, it was Open TV. They were actually airing the first and the second, like one film at a weekend. So they start like 4 weeks before in order for you to get into the release, and you can do crossover promotions. They're open to it. They can sell tickets. You can get air time at the broadcaster when you do like theatrical. If there's a book, you can do something with the book. There are many ideas for you to collaborate between windows and between partnerships and collaborations. So remember this when you are actually thinking about your marketing and distribution plan. And final advice, distribution starts with audience clarity. Remember this, audience clarity means more views, means you are getting to the right audience. If you're unsure where your film fits best, you can always use Ramiro AI, your friend, to simulate release paths, get recommendations, and research films like yours. And most importantly, don't wait until your film is done. Start planning during development, production. Post-production is still, I think post-production is too late, but still, you can start there. Don't wait until your film is finished. It's super important that you remember this. Like, starting the distribution plan, it needs to start early on in your film making career. And then that's a wrap. I hope this gave you clarity on where to distribute your film, how to build a strategy around your audience and around your distribution path. So depending on your film and who you want to reach. You can listen to more episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and my website, rosacamero.com. And if you want help crafting a custom strategy for your film, you can try Ramiro AI, and I'm also there to support you. So we have 3 different ways of working together. And I would love to be part of your journey, and I would love to be part of getting your film out there and making it seen. Until next time, I am Rosa Camero. Thanks for listening to Film and Business. Bye.